Hey, Cavs fans, it's German, Spencer Davies coming to you from Independence. The Cavs wrapped up practice today ahead of their series with the Magic. First practice of three here to kind of round out the week before they get things started on Saturday. Spence, we got to hear from Donovan Mitchell today. We got to hear from JB Bickerstaff, Max Strus. Obviously, I think the big thing on everybody's mind, how is Donovan Mitchell feeling after dealing with this knee injury down the stretch of the season? He had some interesting things to say.
Yeah, no, he kind of joked. He was like 100% physically ready,
Do you think
mentally
he's
ready.
really 100%, or is he just saying that to embellish it a little bit before the playoffs?
Well, I think that if you say that to yourself,
Yeah,
then you're not going to let anything linger, right?
for sure.
And I do think after watching, especially on Friday when he took almost 30 shots against
Yeah.
the Pacers, that he's definitely the closest he's been to 100% in a little while. And I think that's huge for the Cavs because he is the head of the snake as we know it. The way that he play makes, the way that he is able to create on his own, create for others. Obviously, this is Donovan Mitchell we're talking about. This is
Yeah.
an all-star, and this is someone who probably would have been on an All-NBA team had he not gone down. So,
Yeah, and I think there's always that debate over like rust versus rest,
mhm.
and it's across sports. It's not just the NBA, but you get a week off now with the play-in tournament being a thing. And as much as that might be that might be leery for some Cavs fans, like, oh, I don't know about taking a whole week off and you lose your momentum. I think in this instance, it's actually a good thing. Team that's been banged up all year. Donovan, we know the knee's probably going to be a lingering thing regardless, even if he's saying he's 100%. So to get him a little extra rest before that series, I think is absolutely massive for this team.
Yeah, definitely some rest you wanted to get, especially with Donovan and Darius Garland. I mean, you could have even honestly sat Max Strus if you wanted to because he
Yeah.
had some knee issues, and obviously Evan Mobley came back from the ankle injury. There was just a ton. You're still missing Dean Wade. You're still missing Sam Merrill, who I think would be a really big and welcome addition to this team in the postseason against the Magic. He's had some success against them. A lot of 3-pointers going down for him against Orlando, and he practiced onto the first day here, so that's pretty big for them. Dean Wade, JB Bickerstaff talking about how he's not sure it's a day-to-day
Yeah.
thing, and it just sounds more ominous than honestly anything else. But Sam would be a welcome addition back, and I think he's been a missing part of this too.
Sam would be huge, especially for this series. You mentioned Dean Wade. I kind of get the sense, and I don't think JB wants to say this because, like you said, they're trying to take it like day by day. But I get the sense he did say in his own opinion he feels like he's probably not playing game one. I kind of get the sense that we might not see him throughout the playoffs. I don't want to make any proclamations or anything here. I'm not reporting anything. It just the sense that I get from the way the team's talking about it. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Dean Wade until next year.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you hear the coach say, "We'll see," and
Yeah.
it's just not in a good tone, and it's not like that, like. And he even went to the podium and talked about how, I'm sorry for giving you the same answer over and over again, but it's really a day to day thing. How's it feel? And I mean, this team's been plagued by knee injuries all year,
Yeah.
and it just comes out of nowhere when Dean's out, and he ends up having to be out for personal reasons, and then it just kind of lingers and extends, and it's a shame because he's been one of their best perimeter defenders all year. He's versatile, can defend pretty much 1 through 5, and it's just one of those things where it's got to be next man up, and that's what the Cavs' MO has been all this season.
For sure. In relation to, I think the other big thing people are wondering about with this team this year, as you get another matchup against a physical team to start the playoffs, play a lot of tough defense, similar style to what you saw last year, where they got bullied by the Knicks with sort of this bigger front court that you're dealing with. Do you get the sense, because I kind of feel this way, and it's the reason you bring in Max Strus, right, and George Niang and others, and Donovan Mitchell's here. He has plenty of playoff experience. Do you get the sense that this team has learned from that and that they're kind of approaching it this year differently? Like last year, you had the quote from Jared Allen that everybody likes to go back to about, oh, the lights were too bright. It feels like throughout the season, though, and Donovan talked about this a little bit. Max Strus talked about how he's trying to let his playoff experience be invaluable for the guys and, help them kind of come along here as they get ready for this postseason. It feels like there's a different vibe about this team. It's not going to be this bright-eyed and bushy-tailed like this is our first chance at this. Seems like they're a little bit more mild-mannered and they're going about it the right way and they seem focused.
Yeah, they do seem focused, and it's helpful to have a guy like Max Strus, who's got this even-keeled mindset, right? And then never gets too high, never gets
Yeah.
too low. That's very important in the
And that was his
playoffs.
biggest emphasis. He said, like, that's the number one
Yeah.
thing is not getting too overly emotional.
Yeah, yeah, and it makes sense because you can't carry the same type of game plan and game, ready mentality, whatever you want to call it, from game to game. It's got to be its own
Yeah.
individual occurrence, right? And with this Cavs team, I feel like they've been able to do that. They've weathered the storm a little bit this season. They've got a little bit more veteran presence in the locker room. You just said it with Max and George. You can even point to Tristan Thompson and Marcus Morris, who they signed later in the season. I think that's going to be huge for this locker room, and knowing how to handle it. Also, just getting the experience, period, last year. Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, guys like that who have finally gone through the rigors and know what it's like, knows what the officiating is going to be like, the toughness, the physicality, which is awesome. Some stuff that Orlando brings, as we know, and like you said, it's very similar to New York. I'm interested. We saved it. We saved it.
We saw
We
it coming.
saved it.
We saw it coming.
We saved it.
But it all worked out.
It all worked out.
We're trying to do.
You
the best
never
we
know.
can here.
You never know. You never know. But like I said, Orlando, they're a lot longer, more than they are stronger, I feel like. And they're kind of going to be more disruptive with their length, the way that they're able to kind of get into passing lanes. That's going to be the biggest test to me. And I think the thing I keep going back to is what's going to happen when Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell get trapped, because that's going to be the biggest thing, right? And for the Cavs, you see Max Strus get 30 assists over the last 4 games of the season. Like, okay, we've got someone who can handle the ball, unlike last season when you had to look at the others to try and play make and all that stuff. And they had a little bit tougher time and they had a little bit less depth. So I do like the place that the Cavs are in this season, heading into the playoffs. And Orlando's now that team that's got to kind of answer.
Well, I think that's a good place to leave it before our video system blows over again. No, I mean, I wanted to kind of we're going to do more of a in-depth, not like a long thing, but we're going to talk a little bit more just about the matchup, specifically some of the X's and O's, some of the key players. I mean, we know about the Wagner brothers, Paolo Banchero, and some of these other guys, Jalen Suggs. So we'll break that down a little bit. But I think what you mentioned just about the length of Orlando, that is going to be a challenge that the Cavs are going to have to overcome. And this is going to be a good first test for them in this first round of the playoffs, and we'll see how it all unfolds. But we'll be back on Friday, same place here, out in Independence at the Cavs practice facility.
Maybe a little less windy.
Yeah, let's hope for a little less wind, so we don't have to worry about that. But we'll have plenty more coming your way in terms of what gets said at practice, and as we get you ready for this series with Orlando. Obviously, first tip at 1. Is it 1 on?
Yeah, it's 1
Saturday?
o'clock.
Okay.
1 o'clock. First
For some
NBA
reason, I
playoff.
was thinking it was the 3:30 game. It's the 1 o'clock game.
First NBA playoff game. They're kicking it off, so that's going to be the start. ESPN, 1 p.m.
There you go. We'll certainly count you guys down to it. You can keep on following along with all things Cleveland Cavaliers at the Cavs Insider YouTube page. And, of course, as always, over at CavsInsider.com.
Spencer Square.